What's good, YouTube? My name is Brian. Welcome back to another video. Today, we are going to be watching an educational video. Give it a round of applause. I know you've asked yourself this question, okay? We are going to see if water is bulletproof. All right, let's get right into the video.
You ran your mouth off around the wrong people, and now they're trying to go.
You're running from your ops.
Of course, normally you just whip out your own sidearm and smoke the mother flippers. But this time, you've only gone and left your trusty pistol at home. Nightmare. As you run for your life with deadly assailants hot on your tail,
I ain't gonna lie, would y'all jump into a bridge if y'all getting chased by y'all ops and that's the only option you have? You got no grip on you, no knife, no nothing. You got 3 niggas chasing you with blicks. What you gonna do?
I'm Stu, this is Debunked.
I'm jumping at her.
Truths on the myths and
I
the
keep
facts
her
and
buck.
misconceptions. This video is sponsored by Fabulous.
As you can imagine, firearms are a diverse group of weapons that work differently depending on the type, design and ammunition, etc. But in general, most guns do not play well with water. Firing into water from above the surface is far less effective and significantly less lethal than your usual land-based gun shenanigans. This is because most guns are designed to propel bullets through the air. While air resistance obviously has an effect on how fast and far a bullet can travel, it certainly hasn't stopped us from pumping each other full of lead for hundreds of years. Water, on the other hand, provides substantially more resistance. As a bullet travels through water, it collides with an unfathomable number of water molecules. Each individual collision causes a minuscule amount of energy to be transferred from the bullet to the molecule. This continues until the bullet is depleted of energy and the bullet comes to a stop. Due to the density of water, this energy transfer occurs at a rate significantly faster than when the bullet pushes through molecules in air, meaning it has less energy to push through your body.
Wow.
For comparison, regular garden variety air only weighs around 1.25 kilograms per cubic meter, meaning it is fairly easy to fire bullets through the atmosphere with deadly force. Whereas water weighs roughly 1,000 kilograms per cubic meter, making it somewhat...
I got a question. Have y'all ever gotten the thought to shoot a plane? Like, real shit, like, you ever just think about it, like, if I shoot that plane up there, is the bullet gonna reach? And if it does, then did I just kill like 30 people? I don't know. Kind of twisted, but that's what goes on in my head.
Obviously, this dramatically changes the lethality of firearms built to operate at standard atmospheric pressure. The speed a bullet can travel through water and the distance it is able to travel is highly dependent on its angle of entry.
Now, the speed a bullet can travel through water and the distance it is able to travel is highly dependent on the angle of entry.
Studies have shown that standard projectiles fired at angles of 5 to 15 degrees from the water's surface are unlikely to even enter the water, as they tend to ricochet off from the surface or break up into pieces upon impact. One study conducted in 2008 at the King Abdullah University of Science and Technology found that
what the fuck? That shit could just bounce off the water.
To enter successfully only when fired above 11 degrees.
So if your bad guys are firing at you from a particularly shallow angle, they aren't going to pose much of a threat to you at all. Bad news for your would-be killers. While bad guys with pistols might not be out to get me on a daily basis, what is often hiding around the corner are bad habits, which knock me off course and put me behind with deadlines and generally lead to stress and anxiety.
But recently, I've been using a great little tool called Fabulous.
Shut the fuck
If you're overwhelmed with
up.
anxiety and want a healthier lifestyle or want to
By clicking on my link in the description.
Now you've got enemies coming at you from all angles, and they've got some pretty serious hardware pointing right at you. How deep are you going to need to dive to dodge their lethal lead? Well, the surprising factor that you have on your side is that the more serious the hardware, the less threat they may pose to you while you're underwater. Believe it or not, the bigger the caliber bullet and the faster the muzzle velocity, the shorter the distance it will travel after entering into the water. The brainiacs over at Mythbusters came across this phenomenon while investigating this particular quandary. They fired a .223 caliber bullet which leaves the barrel at a supersonic 2,500 feet per second, or 2,700 kilometers per hour. They followed this with a whopping 50 caliber bullet,
No,
which
not the
travels
heavy
at a
sniper.
staggering 3,000 feet per second, or around 3,300 kilometers per hour. When these bullets hit the water's surface, both bullets essentially exploded into pieces, and their lethality would have been totally eliminated again within 2 to 3 feet, or just under a meter of water. Incredibly, you're actually in a lot more danger if your pursuers are carrying handguns. A 9mm bullet travels at a comparatively slow, but still pretty rapid, 1,300 feet per second, or just over 1,400 kilometers per hour. So, what makes this the more deadly bullet?
That's crazy. That's really crazy, I'm not gonna lie.
Well,
I didn't know
when an
that.
object enters the water, it encounters resistance. And the faster the object is traveling, the greater the resistance it will
So the
experience
bigger the
as
gun,
it enters this new state of matter.
the less likely
This
you are to
resistance
get shot
causes
in the water.
object to decelerate. In our case, we have lower velocity bullets, like a 9mm, traveling at a respectable 1,300 feet per second, or 1,400 kilometers per hour. The deceleration it experiences occurs over a couple of meters. Over this distance, it is depleted of energy. It slows to a stop and then sinks to the bottom. When higher velocity bullets enter the water,
They
on the
explode.
other hand, they experience substantially more resistance. Whilst a slower bullet can displace the water in front of it relatively easily, at the staggering velocity of a 50 caliber bullet, there simply isn't enough time to move the water out of the way. The massive resistance this exerts on the bullet can exceed the bullet material strength, causing it to deform or disintegrate into multiple pieces as it enters the water. The huge resistance and loss of energy required to tear the material apart mean that in certain circumstances, a faster bullet can end up travelling less far than its less speedy counterpart.
That's crazy.
So, when a puny 9mm bullet is fired into water from a vertical angle, it could mean the end for you, unless you dive relatively deep. Because one of these will be lethal to a depth of 7 foot, or just over 2 meters below the surface.
Oh, shit.
Meaning, you'd need to get down to 8 feet or lower to ensure you didn't even sustain a flesh wound. But hang on. If it's the impact with the water surface that's causing the bullet to initially decelerate so much and lose the majority of its energy, why doesn't your trigger-happy pursuer hop into the water with you and shoot at you while you're fully submerged? Oh, sorry.
But don't worry too much, because for a technology
No
that
way.
already doesn't mix well with water, dunking your average firearm into good old H2O is not a good idea.
Even though some firearms, like
Because of the
Glocks,
shit in
can
the
generally
back.
be relied upon to fire underwater, this is not true for most guns. And even when they do discharge fully submerged, the results are often far less than adequate. As soon as you dip a gun under the surface, water almost immediately fills up all the various nooks and crannies it can reach. First and foremost, water can soak into the cartridges themselves, making the propellant too wet to ignite, preventing the gun from firing at all.
That being said, modern cartridges are often watertight.
Me right now, I'm
even if
thinking about the
firing
dust
pin
in the
has
back.
managed
Like,
to ignite the
see
gunpowder
how
grains, the bullet's
gunpowder.
problems don't stop there.
When a barrel is fired underwater rather than into water, the increased resistance of squillions of water molecules are acting upon the bullet from the moment it is fired. This means that the bullet will have to push against all this water, which may weigh considerably more than the bullet itself, before it even exits the barrel. So naturally, the bullet's muzzle velocity, i.e. the speed at which the bullet is travelling the moment it exits the gun
Imagine you
barrel,
about to get
muzzle
shot
is
underwater.
drastically reduced.
and the bullet's going in
But
slow
how far
motion.
away would you need to be to dodge this amphibious lead?
Well, once again, some televised lunatic has actually tested this. In 2015, Norwegian physicist Andreas Wahl decided to investigate this exact situation on a Norwegian television show called Life Online, in which he demonstrates scientific principles in a variety of seemingly dangerous ways. Standing in a pool with all but his head underwater, Wahl positioned himself directly in the line of fire of a submerged firearm. This time an AG-3 assault rifle, which, on land, has a muzzle velocity of 2,625 feet per second. That's over 2,800 kilometers per hour, and has an effective firing range of around 1,300 feet, or 400 meters. When the gun fired, the bullet traveled less than a meter before slowing down almost entirely, then sinking harmlessly to the bottom of the pool.
So
in each scenario, you'll only have to be a few feet away from your assailant to avoid.
he keeps saying the same shit. I'm gonna just sum it all up. The bigger the gun, the most likely you are to get shot in the water. Alright? What else? If niggas is chasing you, just jump into a body of water and that's it. If you in the heights, and ops is chasing you, run through the George Washington Bridge and jump off that shit. They're gonna shoot you and the bullet is not even gonna do nothing to you. They're not. Nothing's gonna happen to you, really. You just gonna jump in the water, you're gonna dive, okay, you're gonna back flop, front flop, do whatever. I assure you it's not gonna hurt as much as a bullet. Alright? Thank you for watching me. My name is Brian. Like, comment, subscribe. Comment what other videos I should react to. Yeah. I'm out of here, man.